You don't need a new year, you need a new decision. I want to talk to the woman who feels time slipping through her fingers, the woman who knows she's meant for more but doesn't know where to begin, the woman who has been strong for everyone else yet quietly tired inside. If that's you, listen closely, because 2026 is not coming to save you. You are the one who will rise to meet it. Let me walk with you through 7 lessons, not as rules, but as steps. Steps. I learned the hard way, steps that turn surviving into becoming before the world ever applauds you, before it questions you, before it tries to shrink you into something convenient. There is a quiet moment where a woman meets herself. That moment is sacred. That moment is where everything begins. Long before success, long before failure, long before anyone knows your name, you decide who you are, or you don't. And if you don't, the world will do it for you, quickly and without mercy. I learned early that the world is very comfortable telling women who they should be. Be softer, but not weak. Be strong, but not intimidating. Dream big, but don't make anyone uncomfortable. Smile more, speak less, fit in, blend in, behave. And for a long time I listened. I walked into rooms already adjusting myself, already negotiating my worth, already shrinking my voice before anyone asked me to. Not because I lacked talent or intelligence, but because I hadn't yet made a decision about who I was. Here is the truth no one tells. You at graduation ceremonies or family dinners, identity is not discovered someday. It is chosen daily, and it requires courage. Because choosing yourself means disappointing expectations that were never designed for your growth. It means standing still when everyone expects you to move in a direction that feels wrong in your spirit. It means saying, "This is who I am," even when your voice shakes. When you don't define yourself, life becomes a performance. You start living for approval instead of alignment. You chase validation instead of purpose. And slowly, quietly, you drift away from your own truth. That drift is subtle. It looks like success on the outside. But inside, it feels like exhaustion, confusion, a constant feeling that you are doing everything right, yet something is missing. What's missing is authorship. In the year ahead, before you plan goals or timelines or transformations, sit with yourself and ask the hard questions. What do I believe in when no one is watching? What values am I unwilling to compromise, even if it costs me comfort? What kind of woman do I want to be when applause is gone and silence remains? These answers don't come from social media. They don't come from comparison. They come from stillness, from prayer, from honest reflection. Choosing who you are will cost you something. It may cost you relationships that were built on convenience instead of respect. It may cost you opportunities that require you to betray your integrity. It may cost you the version of yourself that survived by pleasing others. But what it gives you in return is priceless. Clarity. And clarity is power. A woman with clarity walks differently. She doesn't rush to prove herself. She doesn't beg for a seat at tables that don't honor her voice. She doesn't explain her boundaries or apologize for her ambition. She knows who she is, and because of that, she knows who she is not. That discernment becomes her shield. When you decide who you are, confidence stops being loud and starts being grounded. You don't need to announce your worth. It shows in how you move, how you speak, how you choose. Your no becomes calm. Your yes becomes intentional. Your life becomes aligned instead of scattered. This decision is not a one-time declaration. It is a daily practice. Every morning, the world will test it. Every situation will ask you to abandon it. And every time you choose yourself again, with grace, not arrogance, you strengthen that identity. Remember this: you are not created to fit into a mold that makes others comfortable. You are created to live in truth. And truth has weight. It has a presence. It has authority. So before the world tries to define you by your age, your mistakes, your past, or your fears, decide. Decide who you are. Decide what you stand for. Decide what you will no longer accept. Because when a woman knows who she is, the world doesn't get to vote. There is a moment every woman faces when inspiration fades, when the excitement disappears, when the vision still matters but the feeling doesn't show up. That moment separates wishers from builders, because motivation is emotional, it comes and goes. But discipline is a decision you make long after the feeling leaves. I used to believe that powerful women woke up every day feeling ready, confident, and unstoppable. That belief was comforting and completely untrue. The truth is, the women you admire most don't always feel strong. They feel tired, they feel unsure, they feel overwhelmed. The difference is not how they feel, it's what they do anyway. There were mornings I woke up heavy with doubt, days when fear sat quietly beside me, reminding me of every risk, every possibility of failure. And yet I learned something life-changing. Waiting to feel ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. Growth doesn't respond to emotion, it responds to commitment. Discipline is not punishment, it is devotion to the woman you are becoming. When you rely on motivation, your life becomes unstable. You work when you feel inspired. You rest when resistance appears. You quit when discomfort shows up. But discipline teaches you something deeper, that consistency builds confidence, not the other way around. Every time you show up without applause, you strengthen trust in yourself. Every promise you keep to yourself, no matter how small, becomes evidence that you can be relied on. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Discipline is waking up when your bed feels safer than your dreams. It's choosing progress over comfort. It's doing the quiet work no one celebrates yet. It's showing up when no one is watching, especially then. And here's what people misunderstand. Discipline doesn't make life smaller. It makes it freer. When your habits are strong, your mind becomes peaceful. When your routines are aligned, your decisions become lighter. You stop negotiating with yourself all day because your standards are already set. In the year ahead, don't build your life around how you feel. Build it around who you want to become. Create rituals that support your growth. Simple ones, repeatable ones, sacred ones. Wake up with intention. Move your body even when it resists. Feed your mind with truth instead of noise. Speak to God before you speak to the world. These small acts, done daily, create unshakable strength. There will be days you fail. Discipline does not require perfection. It requires return. Return to your routine. Return to your values. Return to your vision. Shame says, you failed, so stop. Discipline says, you slipped, so stand again. And over time, something remarkable happens. The very things that once required effort become part of who you are. You don't force consistency, you embody it. You don't chase confidence, it follows you. Discipline also teaches humility. It reminds you that greatness is built in silence, that real success doesn't need an audience, that faith is proof, not in big declarations but in daily obedience. There is something deeply spiritual about discipline. It is choosing alignment over impulse. It is honoring your calling even when no one validates it. It is saying, I trust that the work I do today will serve me tomorrow. So if you are waiting to feel ready, stop waiting. Readiness is built, not felt. Start where you are. Use what you have, do what you can, and do it again tomorrow. Because motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what carries you through the valleys, over the mountains, and into the life you prayed for. Say yes when you don't feel like it. Show up when it's uncomfortable. Keep going when it's quiet. That is how women rise, not loudly, but faithfully. There comes a point in every woman's life when success on the outside can no longer silence the unrest on the inside. You can be productive, admired, busy, accomplished, and still feel fractured, still feel reactive, still feel tired in places sleep can't reach. That is when life gently, and sometimes painfully, asks you to look inward. Unhealed pain doesn't announce itself loudly. It disguises itself as independence, as control, as perfection, as strength. It convinces you that you're fine because you're functioning. But functioning is not the same as being whole. For a long time, I believed that moving forward meant not looking back. That strength meant carrying everything quietly. That healing was something you did after you succeeded, after you had time, after life slowed down. But life doesn't slow down, and pain doesn't wait politely in the corner. It follows you into relationships, into decisions, into the future you're trying to build. What you refuse to feel, you repeat. Unhealed wounds don't just hurt, they shape behavior. They make you choose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. They make you over-explain, over-give, over-control. They make you react instead of respond. And the most dangerous part, you begin to believe that this version of you is just how you are. But it's not who you are, it's who you became to survive. Healing begins the moment you stop running from yourself, when you allow silence to speak, when you stop numbing and start listening, when you admit that some of your strength was built in defense, not in truth. There were seasons when I realized I wasn't exhausted from work. I was exhausted from carrying unresolved emotions, from old disappointments I never grieved, from betrayals I brushed past, from expectations I internalized that were never mine to hold. Healing is not dramatic. It is deeply personal. It's choosing honesty over image. It's sitting with discomfort instead of rushing to distract yourself. It's allowing tears without judgment. It's asking for help without shame. And let me say this clearly. Healing does not make you weak. It makes you dangerous in the most beautiful way. Because a healed woman is no longer driven by fear. She is no longer controlled by the need to prove. She no longer confuses chaos with passion or pain with love. Forgiveness is often the hardest part. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness is not reconciliation, it is release. It is deciding that what happened to you will not have the final say in who you become. Rest is also part of healing, real rest, not scrolling, not escaping, but sacred rest, where you allow your nervous system to breathe again, where you stop earning your worth and start receiving grace. Healing teaches you discernment. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop chasing closure from people who cannot give it. You stop reopening wounds just to prove how strong you are. And slowly, quietly, something shifts. Your reactions soften. Your choices become clearer. Your stand. Odds rise without effort. You begin to feel safe inside yourself. This is where real power lives. Not in control, but in peace. Not in hardness, but in wholeness. A healed woman doesn't need to announce her strength. It shows in how she loves without losing herself. in how she walks away without bitterness, in how she trusts without abandoning wisdom. Healing also deepens your faith, because there are wounds only God can reach. There are questions only surrender can answer. When you invite Him into the places you've hidden, you realize you were never meant to carry them alone. Don't rush this process. Don't compare it. Don't perform it. Healing has its own timing, and it honors patience. Every step you take toward wholeness changes the way you build your future, because the life you are preparing for requires a version of you that is not constantly fighting the past. Heal, not so you can forget, but so you can move forward unburdened. Heal, not so you can be perfect, but so you can be free. Heal, because the woman you are becoming deserves peace. And when healing becomes part of your journey, you don't just rise, you rise rooted. There is a quiet truth most women learn only after they are drained. Growth is not just about effort, it's about placement. You can be hardworking, talented, disciplined, healed, and still feel stuck if you are planted in the wrong environment. Because no matter how strong the seed is, it cannot thrive in poisoned soil. For a long time, I believed that love meant endurance, that loyalty meant staying even when it hurt, that strength meant adapting to spaces that diminished me. I told myself that if I just tried harder, spoke softer, gave more, things would change. But what I didn't understand then is this: some environments don't need more effort, they need distance. Your surroundings shape your spirit more than your intentions ever will. The rooms you sit in teach you what is acceptable. The voices you listen to shape what you believe is possible. The energy you tolerate becomes the energy you carry. And slowly, without realizing it, you start adjusting your dreams to survive instead of expanding them to grow. I've been in places where my light felt like a problem, where my ambition needed explaining, where my boundaries were labeled as arrogance, and for a while I thought something was wrong with me. But the truth was simpler. I was outgrowing the room. Outgrowing is not betrayal. Leaving is not failure. Choosing yourself is not selfish. In the year ahead, you must become deeply intentional about what and who has access to you. Not everyone deserves proximity to your purpose. Not every relationship is meant to follow you into your next chapter. Some people are chapters, some are lessons. Very few are lifelong companions. This doesn't require anger. It requires honesty. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations. Pay attention to whether your dreams feel encouraged or mocked. Pay attention to whether you feel seen or merely tolerated. Your body knows before your mind admits it. Protecting your energy doesn't mean building walls. It means setting gates. It means allowing entry with discernment. It means understanding that peace is not something you find later. It's something you choose daily. And let me say this gently: you don't owe access to people who consistently drain you. You don't owe explanations to environments that refuse to understand you. You don't owe loyalty to spaces that demand your silence in exchange for belonging. The right environment doesn't require you to audition for acceptance. It allows you to exhale. It challenges you without belittling you. It celebrates your growth without competition. It holds you accountable with love, not control, when you shift envy. Environments, physically, emotionally, spiritually, your life accelerates. Suddenly, the discipline you've built feels lighter. The healing you've done feels safer. The dreams you once whispered feel possible to speak aloud. This is why solitude is sometimes necessary, because distance gives clarity. Silence reveals truth, and alone time reconnects you to your inner compass, the one that gets drowned out in noisy spaces. Don't be afraid of seasons where your circle gets smaller. That's often a sign that your life is getting bigger. Faith plays a powerful role here. Because trusting God sometimes means trusting His removals as much as His blessings. When doors close without explanation, when invitations stop, when connections fade, it's not always loss, sometimes it's protection. You are not meant to bloom everywhere, you are meant to bloom where you are nourished. Choose spaces that honor your growth. Choose conversations that elevate your thinking. Choose friendships that respect your boundaries. Choose environments where your faith is strengthened, not tested daily. And if you find yourself alone for a while, don't panic. Use that season to root deeper, to listen more closely, to prepare quietly. Because when the environment is right, growth is no longer forced. It becomes natural. And one day, you'll look back and realize, leaving wasn't the hard part. Staying too long was. Protect your peace. Guard your energy. Place yourself where you can rise. That is not isolation, that is wisdom. There comes a moment when achievement alone stops feeling like enough, when the applause fades quickly, when the milestones once dreamed of don't quiet the deeper question inside you. That question is not about success, it's about significance. And that is where service begins. For a long time, I believed success was about arrival, about reaching a place where struggle ends and fulfillment begins. I chased goals with intensity, discipline, and hunger, and I achieved many of them. But somewhere along the way, I discovered a truth that changed me. Success that only serves you eventually empties you. Service fills what ambition cannot. The most meaningful moments of my life did not come from being seen. They came from seeing others, from listening, from showing up quietly, without recognition, without expectation of return. Because service has a way of grounding you. It reminds you that your gifts were never meant to stop with you. When you serve, your perspective shifts, your problems shrink, your gratitude deepens. You stop measuring life only by what you gain and start measuring it by what you give. And in that shift, purpose becomes clear. Service is not about saving people. It's about standing beside them. It's not about being important. It's about being useful. There is humility in service, and humility is strength refined. It teaches you that no matter how far you go, you are still connected to humanity. That your success is not an escape from others, but an invitation to lift them. In the year ahead, I want you to understand this deeply. Service is not something you do after you make it. It is how you make it without losing yourself. It keeps your heart soft in a world that rewards hardness. It keeps your spirit generous in a culture obsessed with taking. When you serve, ego steps aside, comparison fades, gratitude rises. You stop chasing validation because you are too busy creating value, and service doesn't always look big. Sometimes it's a conversation that restores someone's hope. Sometimes it's mentoring without announcing it. Sometimes it's generosity that remains anonymous. Sometimes it's choosing integrity when cutting corners would be easier. Service also teaches patience. Because real impact takes time. It grows slowly, quietly, invisibly, just like roots. And roots matter more than flowers, because they decide what survives storms. Faith is woven deeply into service, because serving others is one of the purest expressions of trust in something greater than yourself. When you give without fear, you declare abundance. When you help without applause, you honor purpose. When you serve with love, you align with grace. I have learned that when you use your platform, no matter how small, to uplift others, life expands in ways you cannot plan. Doors open, opportunities multiply, but more importantly, your soul stays intact. There's something sacred about knowing your life made someone else's lighter. Service also keeps you teachable. It reminds you that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. From stories, from struggle, from people whose lives look nothing like yours. And that awareness makes you wiser, not just more accomplished. In a world chasing status, be the woman who chooses substance. In a culture obsessed with self, be the woman who serves. In times of division, be the woman who builds bridges. This does not mean neglecting yourself. True service flows from fullness, not depletion. You give best when you are grounded, healed, and aligned. Service is not martyrdom, it is contribution. And here is the quiet miracle of service. The more you give, the more you receive, not always materially but spiritually. Peace, perspective, purpose, a sense of belonging to something bigger than your own ambition. One day titles will fade, achievements will be listed briefly, but impact will echo. In the lives you touched, in the courage you sparked, in the hope you passed forward. So don't ask only, what do I want from life? Ask, what does life need from me? Because a woman who serves does not just succeed, she matters. And that is the highest form of success, T. There are seasons in life when clarity disappears, when plans feel fragile, when certainty slips through your fingers, no matter how hard you try to hold it. Those are the seasons that teach you what faith really is. Not the kind spoken about easily, the kind lived quietly. Faith is not confidence in outcomes. It is commitment despite uncertainty. I used to believe faith meant having answers, that it meant knowing where I was going, how long it would take, and what the result would look like. But life humbled that belief quickly, because the most important steps I ever took were taken without guarantees, without confirmation, without a safety net. Faith began where control ended. There were moments when the path ahead was foggy, when logic failed me, when effort alone wasn't enough. And in those moments I learned that faith is not passive, it is active courage. It is waking up and moving forward even when your mind is filled with questions. It is choosing obedience over understanding. Fear will always ask for proof. Faith asks for trust. And trust is not built in comfort. It is built in surrender. Faith doesn't remove fear. It teaches you how to walk with it without letting it lead. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that fear will not have the final word. In the year ahead, there will be moments when you don't feel ready, when the dream feels bigger than your ability, when the risk feels heavier than your confidence. That is not a sign to stop. That is a signal to lean in. Because faith grows only when it is exercised. Every step taken without certainty strengthens something deep within you. You begin to realize that you are held, even when you don't see how. That delays are not denials. That silence is not abandonment. That preparation often looks like waiting. There is a sacred patience that faith teaches, the kind that doesn't rush outcomes, the kind that trusts timing, the kind that understands that what arrives too early cannot be sustained. Faith also reshapes how you define success. You stop measuring progress only by visible results. You begin to value alignment, integrity, peace. You learn that success without faith is loud and fragile. But success built on faith is quiet and unshakable. Prayer becomes more than words, it becomes posture. A posture of humility, a posture of listening, a posture of surrender. There were times when all I could say was, "Guide me," and that was enough. Because faith is not about having perfect prayers, it's about having an open heart. Faith also teaches you restraint. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't panic in silence. You don't force doors that resist you. You learn to wait without losing hope, to trust without needing reassurance. And this is where faith becomes strength. When you stop demanding clarity, clarity begins to unfold. When you stop forcing outcomes, direction becomes clear. When you stop trying to control everything, peace arrives. Faith doesn't promise ease, it promises presence. You are not walking alone, even when it feels like it. And that truth changes how you move through uncertainty. In difficult moments, faith reminds you who you belong to. It grounds you when doubt tries to shake your foundation. It whispers when fear screams. It steadies you when emotions fluctuate. Faith is choosing courage again and again, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's lonely, even when it's slow. And let me say this gently. Faith will sometimes ask you to let go of things you prayed for because they are not what you need anymore. That is not loss. That is protection. Trust the redirections, trust the pauses, trust the closed doors, because faith sees further than you do. In the year ahead, don't wait until you feel fearless. Act while you are faithful. Don't wait until everything makes sense. Move while your spirit is aligned. Don't wait for permission. Walk in trust. Faith is not loud. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't announce itself. It simply moves. And when you live this way, grounded, surrendered, courageous, you discover something powerful. You are stronger than you thought, more capable than you believed, more supported than you realized. Faith doesn't guarantee the path will be easy. It guarantees you won't walk it alone. And that is enough. There comes a time when you realize life is not asking how much you achieved. It's asking what you left behind. Not what you owned, but what you offered. Not how loud your life was, but how deeply it touched others. Is the moment when legacy begins to matter more than lifestyle. In the early chapters of life, it's natural to focus on building careers, building confidence, building security, building independence. These things matter. They shape you, they strengthen you. But if life stops there, something feels incomplete. Because success that ends with you is not fulfillment, it's accumulation. Legacy is different. Legacy is intention stretched over time. A lifestyle is about what you consume. A legacy is about what you contribute. I've met people with everything they ever wanted, and yet they felt hollow. And I've met people with very little who carried a quiet, undeniable richness. The difference was not circumstance, it was purpose. One lived for themselves, the other lived with meaning. Legacy is built in the smallest moments, in how you speak when no one is impressed, in how you treat people who cannot advance you, in how you respond when power is in your hands. It is not created on stages. It is created in private choices repeated consistently. How you love becomes legacy. How you forgive becomes legacy. How you show. Courage becomes legacy. One day titles will change, roles will evolve, beauty will age, trends will fade, but character remains, integrity echoes. Impact outlives you. In the year ahead, ask yourself deeper questions. Not how can I be admired, but how can I be remembered? Not what can I achieve, but who can I help become more because I existed? Legacy requires responsibility. It asks you to live consciously, to understand that your words shape others, that your behavior gives permission, that your healing opens doors for those watching you silently, because someone is always watching. Someone is learning from how you endure. Someone is gaining courage from how you rise. Legacy also requires restraint. You stop chasing attention. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop reacting to every distraction. You begin choosing long-term impact over short-term satisfaction. This doesn't mean life becomes heavy, it becomes meaningful. When you live with legacy in mind, your decisions change. You choose honesty over convenience. You choose kindness over ego. You choose courage over comfort. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. Faith deepens here, because legacy is rooted in believing that your life is part of something greater than you, that your days are not random, that your influence is not accidental. When you align your actions with that belief, life gains depth. You no longer ask, is this popular? You ask, is this right? You no longer ask, will this benefit me? You ask, will this bless someone else? And in doing so, you find freedom. Because living for legacy releases you from the exhausting need to prove yourself. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to be everything. You only need to be faithful with what you've been given. Legacy is not perfection. It is consistent in truth. You will make mistakes. You will fall short. But even those moments can serve your legacy when you respond with humility, accountability, and growth. Apologies teach as much as achievements. Vulnerability builds bridges that success never could. One day the world will move on without you, and that is not frightening, it is humbling. What will remain are the lives you touched, the strength you passed on, the hope you planted. So live gently but firmly. Dream boldly but humbly. Serve faithfully, not selectively. Build a life that feels meaningful even when no one is watching. Build a character that doesn't require applause. Build impact that outlives trends. Because when your time comes to rest, the greatest success will not be what you accumulated. It will be what you gave. And that is how a woman truly lives forever. You've walked through the steps now. You faced identity, discipline, healing, environment, service, faith, and legacy. And if you're listening carefully, you'll notice something powerful. None of these lessons stand alone. They are threads of the same fabric. Together, they form the woman you are becoming. Here is the truth I want you to carry with you. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Every delay refined your patience. Every heartbreak sharpened your discernment. Every season of silence strengthens your faith. Nothing was wasted. The woman you are becoming is not built in a single moment of courage, but in thousands of quiet choices. Choices to show up, to stay soft in a hard world, to stand firm without becoming bitter, to believe when proof is absent, to serve without needing recognition, to walk away from what no longer honors your growth. This is what strength looks like now. Not loud, not aggressive, but grounded. There will be moments when you doubt yourself again. That's human. Don't panic when fear returns. It always does before a breer. K through. Let fear pass through, but never let it decide. Stand in your truth. Keep your discipline sacred. Protect your peace fiercely. Serve generously. Trust deeply. And live like your life matters. Because it does. You don't need permission to become who you were called to be. You don't need to compare timelines. You don't need to prove your worth through exhaustion. You are already enough, and you are still becoming. Let the year ahead find you intentional, not rushed. Faithful, not fearful. Focused, not fragmented. Rooted, not reactive. Wake up each day and choose alignment over approval. Choose purpose over pressure. Choose courage over comfort. And when the world tries to define you, rewrite the definition yourself. Because when a woman aligns her identity with discipline, her healing with wisdom, her faith with action, and her success with service, she doesn't just rise, she becomes a force. Walk forward with grace. Stand firm in truth and shine. Unapologetically, the world is waiting, not for your perfection, but for your presence. And that is more than enough. And when you walk into the future, walk in faith, not fear. Trust that what is meant for you will not miss you. Trust that every step taken in truth is already blessed. You are not here by accident. You are not carrying this dream alone. Do the work, stay humble, serve with love, stand firm in who you are. And when the world tries to dim your light, remember, light doesn't ask for permission to shine. Walk forward, faith first, purpose always.